6-month resub. We talked about this deck yesterday, how I've kind of been like theory crafting a Snapcaster Mage control deck for a long time, and we spent some time to like lay it out and start talking about it, and it ended up looking a lot more viable than I had kind of initially expected. And so, Snapcaster Mage and Ephemerate, two very, very powerful cards in control shells, and they work pretty well together. It's pretty good to just have your Snapcaster Mage sitting in play, and then you can Ephemerate it in response to a spell, flashback a Counterspell, rebound the Ephemerate, flicker a different creature, or just draw a card with Consider, use your removal spell, draw 2 with Charm, blah, blah, blah. The issue is that, Ephemerate requires you to play. I usually think like 14, 13 is around the minimum number of flicker creatures to play, but you can get a little bit trickier with it sometimes. But you need to play like 15 creatures. I think Snapcaster Mage requires you to play a deck with, a ton of instants and sorcery. So it's really hard, I think, to like strike a balance where you're meeting that restriction for Ephemerate and you're meeting that restriction for Snapcaster Mage while also playing cards like Supreme Verdict, Teferi Time Raveler, these kind of effects. And so I think that, this build does meet those requirements, which is also, why we're not playing main deck Teferi Time Raveler, why we're not playing main deck Supreme Verdict, or any Supreme Verdicts either. We're just trying to play instants and sorceries, trying to play Ephemerate targets. Mulldrifter, kind of the card that ties the room together. Obviously, this is a card we found a lot of success with in the Reanimator strategy. I think kind of using this as your like big over-the-top card advantage engine with Ephemerate makes a ton of sense. Playtesting the deck yesterday, felt pretty strong. We've got some subtleties and Vensers in the sideboard for the big mana matchups. I'm excited. Okay, let's keep this. Let's go Fountain Hall. Just make a basic mountain, yeah, old school Miracle style. Why am I not running Teferi in the list? Yeah, so the big idea is that Ephemerate requires you to play a bunch of creatures to flicker for value, obviously, and Snapcaster requires you to play a lot of instants and sorceries, so you just really don't have a lot of room for Teferi Time Raveler in the main. And it's also true, like, now with, like, the Mulldrifters, too, like, that part of the curve is a little bit occupied, although it's not too bad to bounce a Mulldrifter with your Teferi either. Wall of Omens, the Ragavan killer. Jeskai Ragavan. Ooh. Don't think I'm supposed to Solitude Ragavan in response. It's, like, currently pretty locked down by the wall, although now I might Solitude Ephemerate Solitude Ephemerate with Counterspell up. Maybe they have a burn spell. No, they're just attacking. Yeah, let's go Solitude Ephemerate. Stop my opponent from untapping with Emery, and I think I'll do this now to deny the Mox Amber mana on this turn, which I don't know how big a priority this is necessarily. For the Engineer Greasewing deck, did I consider Evolution instead of Coco? I mean, Coco's just, I think, way better, because it could be a one-card combo. I didn't seriously consider it, no. Okay, this is fine. We're just going to rebound the Ephemerate on the Wall of Omens. Obviously, this Urza Saga may give us some trouble, but we're going to need to draw some action anyways. Down to only one March in the main, though. And there's a Mulldrifter. Definitely feels like I could just evoke Mulldrifter here, hope to draw Ephemerate. If I miss, that's fine. Don't really need to hold up Counterspell, since they're probably going to Saga this turn, although now that I've drawn my 1 of March, I'll just cast that. Pretty good. No, Flashback to Ephemerate does not rebound, unfortunately. As spoke 30 months, but, flashing back Cloud Shift is still fine sometimes, but and Ephemerating the Snapcaster itself is still pretty good. They do have Second Saga, and I don't have a Snapcaster for the March, but I do have another Solitude. If their whole turn is just making a Saga, it's going to be Saga token's pretty slow. I could even maybe just like Solitude a token, and the Wall of Omens is going to check the 3/3 second token for a little while. I wonder if we're supposed to go down to 22 lands. We've been flooding a lot today. think 4 Subtlety and Sideboard replaceable. I mean, maybe, but you know, the reality is that Subtleties, all the incarnations have super unique effects, so because of that, it can be kind of hard to replace them in decks. Is Archaeomancer too deep in the sauce? Way too deep. Way too lost in the sauce. Oh, they're cracking the bauble before attacking with their 4/4? That's got to be incorrect, right? They shocked. I think I'm just gonna untap here. Don't mind that draw. So I have 7 mana, which is not enough for Hardcast Solitude and Snap Ephemerate. Unholy Heat. That's fine. I think we'll just let this happen. You have 4 cantrips and 4 drifters. I mean, adding a Mulldrifter cutting a land doesn't make as much sense to me, right? Because you're raising the curve. Yeah, so I wanted them to attack with both constructs so that I could hit them with the Solitude. But yeah, you could maybe go down to 22. But I think like having the 4 drifters specifically probably wants me to stay at 23. Okay, Grinding Station enters the battlefield. Keeping Counterspell up, going to be a big priority here. Wall of Omens blanking the construct is nice. Could we be banned to drop the walls for Ice Fang? You could be. I don't think it's better than this though, but you could be. So they're down 1 Underworld Breach at the moment. Probably have 3 left in the deck. If they have 2 in their hand next turn, I guess they probably win. Not super easy for them to have that though. Yeah, Walls pitching to Solitude are important. Wall of Omens is like almost as good, if not sometimes better than Ice Fang in this deck. And obviously like splashing a whole color and making your mana base harder is not like a free thing either. Good draw, good draw. Do I want to trade Solitude for the Construct token? I think no. We can just chill for a little bit. To get the plains, because other blue fetch lands can't get the plains here, and I'm running out of fetchables. Ooh boy. I mean, I'm gonna hardcast the Mulldrifter. If my opponent has 2 Underworld Breaches or Underworld Breach plus Counterspell, good beats, but they only have 2 cards in their hand, and I want to be able to go Snapcaster Ephemerate the Mulldrifter end of turn. Could also just draw another Counterspell. Might be good at this point to trade. Also, I think I'll still chill. Might have a red removal spell here. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but I want my draw 2. Cool. Double Prismatic Ending. It's interesting. Yeah, they're definitely big flooded for sure. I guess I'll exile the Breach. But I think we're just going to attack this turn, have Counterspell, Snap Counterspell up, and then can finish them off with Hull next turn. Yeah, 4th Mulldrifter definitely has felt like something I've wanted. I just can't believe that I'm like registering so many Mulldrifters these days. Okay, run the draw against Breach. I definitely want the extra copies of March of Otherworldly Light. Don't really want the subtleties. The disputes can be fine. I guess I really only hit the like shredders and iterations, but hitting shredder on turn 2 is really nice. Kind of hard for us to answer it super mana efficiently otherwise. Teferi's also a good option, I think. Anything looks super bad? Not really. I think you could probably cut the 4th Mulldrifter in this matchup. Maybe we could just go down on the Teferis and trim like 1 Consider. We're going up other spells here, other cheap instants with the extra marches. I don't think we want to cut a wall against the Ragavan deck. Cut a land. You could cut a land, maybe. I don't love it, though. I think this is fine. If you go by the philosophy that all creatures need to get value of Ephemerate on the field by themselves, then it can't hold its own, but I think Soul Herder would be sweet in the deck. Yeah, Soul Herder would be sweet, but it's also like Soul Herder all of a sudden makes the deck like incredibly weak to creature removal in a way that like right now it's just the deck is like very resilient to creature removal in general. And you know, we've also got a good Soul Herder deck. Venser for tokens, breaking up combo potential, maybe. I mean, we brought in March for Saga, so I think the tokens are like a little bit less of an issue. Venser's also like somewhat mana inefficient against a deck that is like super mana efficient, so that's also kind of tricky. Hopefully they have a second Ragavan. Narset versus the draw engine. Narset almost stops nothing, right? Narset doesn't stop iteration, doesn't stop breach, doesn't stop. It's like maybe okay against Shredder. Why I'm on 0 Triumph seems like a no-brainer if you want a 3rd color for ending. I have a Steam Vince for ending, and like if you want a 3rd color, I like for it to enter untapped. Although I might be wrong about like that being correct, to be honest. They dash in the Ragavan. But this is the torture of registering a control deck is the is the conversations of Triomes versus Shocklands, and just everything is so. So everything is the exhaustive conversation. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, Mulldrifter not being a Coco hit is why it's not in that deck. Why is Steam Vince mainly for ending? It's only for ending. It's not mainly for ending. Yes, it's there so you can ending X equals 3. It's. Oh, sorry. Just trolling. Okay, probably passing with Charm up. It would be good to maybe find 4th land for 2 turns ago, ending Shredder into untap with Counterspell up, but it's also true that my opponent's really likely to attack with the Shredder, and I might just steal the Ragavan. Play Bant Triumph and Steam Vince for 4 colors. Yeah, you could do that. So a lot of people play Jeskai Triumph and Steam Vince, but I guess those people oftentimes also play like Wear Tear and Fire Ice, which is fine. Why don't have Shocks the other 2 colors ending for 5? I mean, that's just like it costs you something to have like the Shock lands in your deck. Like they're not just dual lands that cost you no life. And you don't ending for 5 almost ever in Modern. You ending for 4 sometimes. All right, I'm a stealing. Okay, that's a W. Yeah, just ending Counterspell up. Why Steam Vince will Water Grave Breeding Pool? There is actually a reason, is that Yawgmoth plays Yavimaya and Urborg, and so you can ending for 4 against them, which is relevant because they play Yawgmoth. It might not seem like there's a reason, but there is. Ooh, second Saga. And not a March of Otherworldly Light to be seen anywhere. Otawara token, maybe. We can play a second wall. Be really nice to find an ending a Saga, have Counterspell up. Could steal a token also. Yeah, this turn I could maybe go steal a token. Next turn, Otawara token, hold up Counterspell. And then if I could just keep the constructs under 3 power, then we should be fine. Although that's going to be kind of tricky with them having 2 Sagas. Doesn't a control deck require some inevitability or haymakers? Sorry to stunlock. This deck has Mulldrifter, which is draws you millions and millions of cards with Ephemerate, and that is this deck's inevitability haymaker effect. Yeah, with them not really being able to combo this turn, I think I can tap out somewhat fine. How would you say Esperfood and Grinding Station compare as in competitiveness? And I don't know. They're both Urza Saga decks, so maybe that's the way to compare them. I would say that like Breach has like more. Okay, my opponent's lost connection to the game. Breach has like more individually powerful cards. Like it plays Ragavan, Dragon Rage's Channeler, Expressive Iteration, Ledger Shredder, and sometimes Teferi. And so like these cards individually can sometimes allow you to play through Hate a bit more easily, but the Esper deck is like a more powerful synergy deck, if that makes sense, in my opinion. I was reading Red Black Anvil guide for Pioneers, wondering if you had updates regarding the current meta. I think with Mono Green being as popular as it is, I think you don't want to play Anvil in the Rakdos Sacrifice decks, just with like the Anvil version is just so weak to Karn the Great Creator, unfortunately. Hey, the Breach combo is a 4-card combo. I mean, it's technically a 4-card combo, but it usually just plays like a 2-card combo. Breach Grinding Station. Yeah, sometimes a 1-card combo if you just have Grinding Station in your graveyard. Okay, so I think I'm going to chump block a construct with the construct, bounce the other one here, and then I think they're going to crack the bauble, and then their last construct will just be 3 power. I think Snapcaster Mage could be playable in some kind of blue-white Ephemerate deck. I don't know that blue-white Ephemerate. I mean, blue-white Ephemerate is cool. Bob has been playing it. Bob49 has been playing it. Has some good matchups, but I don't know. I have a hard time like wrapping my head around the Ephemerate deck, to be honest. March is probably a little bit better than the average draw step. Lets me just blank the constructs here. Not sure it's necessarily the card I want to draw. Although I do like drawing Solitude here. Don't have Solitude plus Counterspell up though. Good turn. So I think my plan is to block a construct with a wall, Solitude the Emery end of turn, and then reevaluate if I want to exile the Shredder or if I want to exile a construct, but no, I don't think I need to use a Counterspell here. I'm just going to hardcast the Solitude this turn. If their last card's a Counterspell for Solitude, then yeah. And then this is exact. I was just really hoping that they would crack the bauble, and so now if I kill a construct, then the wall is checking the other construct for the time being. Is this Prismatic Ending? Otawara the Emery. Okay. So now they use their treasure. It's actually really big deal, I feel. Let me just attack. And then I can go ending the Shredder. And I could use the March on the Emery. The board is currently stable because I block a construct with the wall, take 3, gain 3 with the Solitude. So I could just use the March on the Emery. And again, I'm really prioritizing. Oh no, okay, now I have to March a construct, I think, and then Counterspell the Emery. But I was just like here really prioritizing not losing a Counterspell, because like Underworld Breach is just like such a crazy top deck at this point in the game. Don't know why they didn't lead on that. Oh yeah, they could have used Amber. Okay, yeah, they shouldn't have lost their construct, I guess. Good game. Think Lagrello will stay in the Bangkoko list? No, I didn't like it very much. I'm going to cut it. Okay, they just draw a card, which I think is correct here. They said Silence Grenades trying to explain why, just blank a turn they hit big mana. You're going to loop the silences with the Turn of Witness to lock them out of ever casting another spell, is the goal. They shouldn't have cracked the bauble till after the Solitude trigger resolves. They could gain 1 more life, but not a huge deal. The top deck, Underworld Breach, it's almost definitely going to be like an effective win. Maybe not an immediate win, but they'll get to draw like 5 cards or something. Love to see a Ragavan here. Love to see a Hallowed Fountain here. Oh, Untapped. Don't love that. Ah, damn it. We'll play it out, though. We'll play it out. Still no grinding station. The Emery is, you know, pretty free to play here. Well, they cast the Ragavan because it lets their Amber tap for mana, but I guess they didn't really need to. So they're digging for the grinding station. They need to find it. They needed to find it on this hit though, which they didn't do. They only have 22 cards left in their library. I mean, I don't know. That's plenty. I guess they could hit grinding station and a second Mox Amber off of another Emery to maybe get there. I think what they should probably do is just like bobble 3 times, then Grape Shot me, or Grape Shot kill the Solitudes. They need grinding station or Mox. Don't they need both? Like what does double Mox do? I guess it makes mana for them. And why would you cast Springleaf Drum? Yeah, maybe they could just Grape Shot me twice, though. No, they don't have enough mana. They can loop station and bobble to a milling Mox. But they don't have a station. Oh, a second Mox just lets them Emery until they find a grinding station. That makes sense. Dude, Emery's so good in this deck. So they have 9 damage with a Scrape Shot, which they can just kill all my creatures with. And then they have to, a lot of cards they're getting to draw. First time chatter, 3 most unhealthy cards in Modern. I will say that this is a channel where I like to try to enjoy the format and try new stuff and play the games. This is not a complain about the format channel. I think that is still twitch.tv/Doomwake. Oh, they messed up and didn't kill my wall. Alright, pass back. Shots fired? That's not shots fired. He's explicitly said in this chat and his chat that is the place to go complain. But you hate Omnath? I do hate Omnath, but I also, you know, prefer to not spend every stream talking about things I don't like about the format, you know? It's especially lately, like this, just because of, like, every time there's a big release between sets, like there is right now, there's always a exacerbated amount of boredom, I feel, where players are bored and they're tired and they want new cards, and the things that they don't like about the format feel exacerbated because they have to play against them more often. And I did mean to fetch a turn for Steam Bends. I'm going to go snap ending on the Saga, or March on the Saga rather. And my chat box is not a place for you to complain about the Modern. It's just I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. There are plenty of places to complain about it. It's not here. Can we complain about the lack of support for our format? I mean, like, no, like this. For me, it's just overwhelming for me all day, every day. The negativity, and I like to have productive, interesting conversations about Magic, about Modern, and I'm just not that interested in having my chat box be the complaint box. Okay, we're gonna go to game 3 on the play. Game 3 on the play. I just don't know if I want these disputes. I think I don't. Let's just try this. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, let's keep this. Would Engineer and Fiddle be better in Jeskai or Mardu Artifact Shell? I mean, I've tried it in Boros, and I don't really know what blue and black give you, to be honest. Okay, I'd love to see a Ragavan when we have a Wall of Omens on the play. Hand's pretty wide. I think I'll get a second Fountain, so if I draw Any untap land, I can go Wall of Omens plus Ephemerate next turn, potentially. Well, that is a tap land. Which brew of mine do I have closest to my heart? I don't think that I have any one that I'm like that attached to necessarily. Okay. I think I'm just gonna do this now, so I can make sure that it resolves. They don't have to use a burn spell or counterspell, obviously. Then I'll probably be rebounding onto the Wall of Omens, not the Solitude, but we'll see what happens. Smalls, thank you for 13 months. Appreciate you. I always remember when you're Solitude ephemerating against a Ledger Shredder, to exile the Shredder first, so they don't kick the connive. And then thank you, DVL. Should I consider for a land here? It's kind of like a classic age-old modern question. I think I'll be okay missing a land drop for this turn. No Greasewing today? We might play Greasewing today. It depends on just how much time we have. I updated the list a little bit to have Tidehole Scholar. I got convinced that like Scholar is... I ended up cutting the Braze Apprentice and Spellskite, just thinking that Scholar is better than those two cards. Although the spell, like one Spellskite still might be correct. And I ended up cutting the Wrenn 6 and the Can't Stay Away for just the full play set. But Scholar plus Goblin Engineer is kind of sweet. Okay. I think I'm gonna go Snapcaster Ephemerate the Solitude. Thoughts on Southern Titan the board for Aether Mage Reanimator. I mean, it's like really only good against 4-color. People always say it's good against Titan, but it's not. And your 4-color matchup's pretty good, so it doesn't feel like very necessary. Okay, so now I think if I miss a land drop, I can just use Prismatic Ending this turn, but I do like finding a land. Take Mox Amber to hold them off mana for the combo. I mean, they don't have a legend in play. I don't think ending the Mox Amber is a big priority here. I will avail Summon Side for the Bant matchup for control matchup. Bant control is already favored against blue-white control by nature of being a having Yorion and Ice Fang and Endurance when blue-white doesn't have access to those cards. And so I don't like it for that reason. I don't like it for the fact that it's not good against 4-color Omnath, and I also like diluting your sideboard in... Well, they could have attacked here. But diluting your sideboard is also, in that deck, I think a big problem, where your sideboard slots are very limited. Ooh, Solitude, or Mulldrifter Ephemerate, and Solitude Ephemerate. Tough spot. Maybe not that tough. Yeah, I think I'll just pass. My local meta has a lot of blue, white, and 4-color. Would I recommend playing a meta like this? Not looking to win every match, but not like to get stomped all the time. The Esper Food deck is good against blue, white, and 4-color. I like that one. Tron is good. Blue-white Valakut's maybe fine, although maybe not as much against the... or green-red Valakut's maybe not as good as blue-white against blue-white. Yeah, Titan Shift. Okay, so they find their attack. I'm just going to block here, take 4, then end of turn, Solitude the Shredder, Ephemerate the Solitude, exile the Imri, and then think about what I want to rebound on. We'll also see, I'm kind of predicting I have to use the Counterspell in combat here, but obviously if I don't, that's ideal. Okay. Yeah, why don't I just draw 2? Okay. Getting rid of one of the constructs seems fine. It also doesn't seem that necessary, but I'm so ahead on cards that I think I can afford to get rid of one. Oh, man. I really can't afford to tap out of a Counterspell, unfortunately. I think I'm just evoking one Mulldrifter this turn. Is Snapcaster too slow for Modern? I don't think so. I mean, obviously, I'm playing a deck right now before Snapcaster Mage, so it doesn't seem super likely. I would say, yeah, it's garbage. Find something else to do today. But it's also like just definitely not true. Even like Wafo Tapa has been playing a lot of Snapcaster Mages in Control over the last several months, and to say that it's just too slow is at least inaccurate. I could Ephemerate the wall. Probably just gonna hold for now. Yeah, it's I don't know how risky it is to go for Mulldrifter Ephemerate here and just like not have the counterspell up, but if this is wrong, I mean I don't really want to be right. This is game 3. It's not game 1. This does let their Mox Amber tap for mana. Grave Shot. Resolves. Why are they targeting the Solitude too and not the Mulldrifter? I was playing this deck last night and people just like refused to kill the Mulldrifter. Like nobody would ever use a removal spell on the Mulldrifter. It was really weird. How do I come up with so many new deck ideas? It's pretty easy. All I do my entire life is think about Magic. This one weird trick that Wizards doesn't want you to know about to come up with new deck ideas in Modern is do literally nothing else. Literally, that's a bit of an exaggeration. Yeah, and also just play a million Ephemerate variants. There's so many of them. Probably not going to go for the kill this turn. Just and let them like kill a creature, survive at 1, untap and combo me when I have 3 counter spells. But maybe next turn when maybe next turn with the counter spell up with the Hall, that'll be fine. Guess I might as well. Just 1 for 1 then while I can. But just like trying to like jam these 4 and 5 mana spells into a format that has counterspell is not, ideal. Okay, we're up against Kihira the Orphan Guard. Classic blue-white mirror. Probably fine spot for us. I guess us not having Teferi the main is going to be an issue. What are you going to do, bounce my wall? No, just plus. Definitely a spot where I like that I have Steam Vents over the Triome. We also have the Otawara to bounce the Teferi, which is nice. This turn just kind of clears Snapcaster Consider. Oh man. Okay, so I was just even thinking about Consider versus Opt. So I was thinking Opt was better than Consider, but yesterday I was playtesting and like just like binning cards in the yard for Snapcaster when you Ephemerate it was pretty relevant. But now that I can't Prismatic Ending the Teferi, this is just kind of awkward. Not sure how often that's gonna happen. Bounces Snapcaster Mage. Ever lost a decking out of any Ephemerate Mulldrifter piles? No. If it's gonna happen, it might be this game. Kihira into the hand. Plays land for turn. Okay, not too scary. I think I'm going to go Wall of Omens and then probably just play a Snapcaster Mage. Maybe next turn just hard cast a Mulldrifter. We'll see. Don't want to go to discard. Teferi the Fawn Raveler. That's what we were afraid of. That's what we were afraid of. Okay, so you play your 5-drop, I'll play mine. Things definitely get a lot better post board, obviously. I think. Yeah, we have Teferi Time Raveler in the sideboard. It's kind of hard to make room for them in the main, I think. Next turn might be like, if we draw a land, Otawara plus Counterspell. Assuming that we can attack the Teferi down, but I guess that's maybe wishful thinking. If they go Kihira to block, I can evoke Solitude. They main phase Solitude. I don't know. I guess they're just main phasing this. They can use Teferi untapped mana. Let's just go to game. Just go to game 2. Gonna cut all the Prismatic Endings and the Marches. Probably down at least 1 Solitude. And the Dovin's Veto's Disputes. Teferi Time Raveler. Narset. Venser's okay. Don't know that I necessarily want it. So right now this is 13 creatures with the Ephemerates. Could maybe cut an Ephemerate. Kind of like 1 Subtlety. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try an Ephemerate. Play the first Subtlety too. Maybe 2 Subtlety, 2 Wall. I think this looks fine. Let's try this. Let's try this. This is also maybe too many Solitudes. Maybe we'd actually do this. Villager with the deck tech. Let's look in chat. What's the best matchup for Subtlety? Tron and Titan mostly. That's what they're there for. Tech. Green-white Swordza. So, Elvish Mystic and Llanowar Elves so that you can block Ragavan instead of playing Noble Hierarch. I don't know. I feel like I might just play Noble Hierarch anyways. The Mana Elves are typically bad against the Ragavan decks anyways. Curve seems a bit too high. Curve seems a bit too high. The splash for Stoneforge Mystic doesn't necessarily resonate with me. The plan of like just playing Stoneforge Mystic in a mid-range plan is not. It's just like not the best thing to be doing. You know, it's just like it's just not that powerful. Obviously, very good in Hammer Time. Good if you can power up Stoneforge Mystic with cards like Fervent Champion. But the reality is that, like, Stoneforge Mystic, just like the presence of it, doesn't like make you like a more powerful fair deck. It's just like not one of the more powerful things to be doing. So it's like playing that over like a card like Blood Moon or playing it over a few different cards. I don't know how much it really makes sense to me here. I think I'm very likely to just flash in a Snapcaster Mage with my hand being all 3 drops. Obviously, need one to find a land. Mono green decks need something to do with Owls Get Killed, so I thought maybe Stoneforge Mystic on 2. I mean, I think that like logic makes some sense, but I feel like playing a card like Renin 6 or playing a card like you know, obviously like just sprawl into a 3-drop. Playing another 1-mana Accelerant is maybe just going to be the better strategy, you know. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting approach to deck building. I like Yavimaya, Arbor Elf, Nykthos. Some cool synergy. But also like this like Trinisphere, the Trinisphere like mono green land destruction shell is not something I've ever really thought was that powerful, and definitely feels like it's outclassed and poorly positioned in a format with like, you know, Murktide, Hammer Time. But if you, I would probably build the list as mono green. I would build the list as with 4 endurances in the main deck. You could maybe play a Boreal Grazer somehow. Just like that one, being able to block early just seems like such a big game. Okay, do I just jam Teferi? Maybe I'll consider try to find a land first. Yeah, then let's jam the Teferi. Dang it. Acidic Slime also stinks, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe Plow under over Acidic Slime, but I mean, I don't know. Neither are getting the job done necessarily either. Would a subscription gift to sub be good enough for deck tech? Nope. No haggling. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Trying to think of other twos. I agree that the 2-drop slot seems sticky. Okay, I'd love to find a land. If I do find a land, I'm probably just going to run out the other Snapcaster Mage here. Although this like doesn't be, I don't know, just having a second creature that kills the Teferi just seems like the biggest priority here. Unfortunately. Is it deck tech? Okay, can you post the link in the chat, Zach? Oh, there it is. I see it. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck on the mono green. I don't know if I have any more ideas. Maybe play Oath of Nissa on the mono green list. It doesn't find you your Trinisphere though. You're probably better off just trying to be a Ponza deck, playing red instead. I don't like the Stoneforge Mystic tech. Could try Plow under. Jace is interesting here. Plussing Jace is also interesting. So if they plus Jace, I should probably send one Snapcaster at Jace this turn. Are there Cyber guys in the Discord? No, they're all in Channel Fireball now. I've not put anything on the Discord in years. I don't plan to anytime soon. I'm not sure about the heats, to be honest. Like, Delirium in this deck is a little awkward, and I lately I've been like kind of, I haven't been in love with Unholy Heat because I don't like that the card doesn't kill Ledger Shredder on turn 2. I really don't like that card does not kill Ledger Shredder on turn 2. So I might just be on push Lightning Bolt instead of push Heat instead. I think I agree that with 3 Lilianas, you don't need to play a second Terminate in the main. I still do really recommend playing a 4th tutor target for Urza Saga. I think that that's something that you really need, and so I think you could like pretty easily cut like 3rd Liliana or the 2nd Fury to make room for the 4th tutor target. I do recommend the Brainstone. Brainstone's been really good for me, but you can also main deck Needle. You can main deck 2nd Nile Spellbomb. Oh, sorry, I don't like the main deck Pirate Spellbomb. We've talked about this too, but like in my visualization of the Jund Saga deck, in my mind, the role of the Pirate Spellbomb is just to kill Sanctifier. In fact, I don't really think that card like is almost like is very relevant outside of the ability to kill Sanctifier. In fact, Sanctifier in fact is only a card that shows up in sideboard games, so I really think that card belongs in the sideboard. And so like I usually like to do 1 Shadow Spirit, 2 Spellbomb, 1 Nile Spellbomb, 1 Brainstone in the main. You could also play like a Springleaf Drum and cut a land. I think that that's like a little experimental, but Springleaf Drum as an Urza Saga target is kind of interesting. Just kind of thinking out loud. Cyber looks good. You could play like an Ancient Grudge over the Force if you really wanted to, but the Force is fine. Ever thought about building a Counterbalance? I won a Modern PTQ with Counterbalance one time, but that was when Mystic Sanctuary was legal. The Counterbalance is definitely a lot worse now. Will the YouTube VODs ever catch up to the stream? I mean, I hope not. I think it's good that they're a little bit behind. It's kind of cheeky. I think I'm actually going to target an Ephemerate here. So this way, if they have another Prismatic Ending, I get to blanket with this Ephemerate, and then I can still go Ephemerate Consider with a Counterspell up. Both snap on Teferi for opponent's Solitude. I just don't think you're supposed to play around Solitude white card in that spot. Like, if my opponent had Solitude, they're like way more likely to brainstorm, I think, with Teferi, with Jace than Plus. And like if you don't, you know, we're just like, we can't kill the Jace the next turn, which is a big issue. How's the deck feeling? It felt good in my testing. We had a couple bad matches at the beginning of the stream. Then people started suggesting Torrential Gear Hulk and Frost Titan. And just playing regular blue-white control instead. But now then we added the 4th Mulldrifter, which I felt like the deck needed, and this is our first league with that tech. I've been weird on Pirate. It's helped some matchups. Try 1 Venser, 1 Lily. Yeah, that's fine. You say swap 2 heat for 2 bolt. I think 3 heat for 3 bolt, to be honest. I feel like bolt doesn't hit too much. Bolt, again, my thinking is that bolt kills Shredder on turn 2, which for me, like the fact that heat doesn't kill Shredder on turn 2 has just been so big for me lately. Do you think heat is still needed if I'm facing 4-color pile? I mean, you can't beat the 4-color pile, or like playing heat over bolt will give you some percentages against 4-color, but you were like Jund Saga specifically is so bad against 4-color, it's crazy. You just like that your matchup against 4-color is a nightmare, and there is like almost nothing you can do to make it better. So I think like I know that that's a painful thing to hear. But I just wouldn't be that worried about it because if you're playing the deck, I think you're mostly just hoping to dodge 4-color, you know. I guess I'll actually just Ephemerate the Snapcaster and cast Archmage's Charm from the yard. They have a Solitude? They started to pay cost. I don't know what that's about. I mean, I'm locked into this. Didn't have Solitude last turn. Oh, they're plussing the Jace. Okay. That's fine. I think with them plussing the Jace, now I just rebound the Ephemerate, flashback Consider. How does Jund, not Saga, beat 4-color? I mean, it doesn't either. But Jund Saga specifically, like, is slower because you're on the Saga game plan, and like your clock tends to be a bit slower than like more traditional Jund decks, and just like having a slower clock in that matchup is just, it's such a nightmare. But it's also okay to have a really bad matchup, you know? It's okay to just be like, I think Jund Saga is good against, I think the Jund Saga is good against Hammer, it's good against Murktide, it's good against Living In, it's good against Burn, it's good against like a huge chunk of the metagame. And it's, you know, very unfavored against 4-color, but you'll still beat it like 30% of the time. Yeah, good against Living because you have like the main deck Graveyard Hate Tutor. And then more in the sideboard. I'm 5 overs, 4-color Jund. All I did was switch the lands for Tron lands and the spells for Tron spells. Also, I'm lying. Well, some good tech. Alright, I mean, my opponent's plus on the Jace. This is fine. We're chilling. Opponent's 12 minutes on the clock. Probably will not be too worried about the clock. I don't know. For RCQ this Saturday, what is one deck I can come in with no experience to beat everyone easily, and why is it Jund Coco? I mean, Jund Coco I think is a deck that is very easy to pilot, so yeah. I like the Jund Coco deck. Is the biggest win-loss spread between Tier 1 decks and Modern 70-30? Between Tier 1 decks and Modern, it's like, it's much smaller than that. Jund Saga is not a Tier 1 deck. Yeah, I would say Jund Saga versus 4-color Omnath is maybe the most lopsided matchup in Modern at the moment. I'm trying to think of anything that's more lopsided. Maybe like red-green Scapeshift against Omnath. That one might be a bit more lopsided. Esper Food against Domnath, maybe. Yogg versus Rhinos. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I would rather... I would rather Yogg versus Rhinos. I would rather be the Yawgmoth player against Rhinos than I would... than be... than be the Jund Saga player against 4-color. I don't know if that actually means the matchup is worse or the matchup's just miserable to play. Bird vs. Adnaz is a little bit more top-sided, maybe, yeah. Mill versus Titan. They were fall to... Yeah, I did fall... Yeah, I'm at an embarrassing 16-1 against 4-color with the food deck. Hey, Itachi, how's it going? I mean, I already have 2 of my 4 Snapcaster Mages in play. So this just says your next 2 Snapcaster Mages are just Ambush Vipers. So I think that's going to be fine until I resolve. Did I face them with a bunch of playing Jund Saga recently in a tournament? I don't think I've played Jund Saga in a tournament ever. So by hero cards, you have an example of villain cards or anti-hero cards. I mean, yeah, Omnath, Locus of Creation, is the quintessential villain card, I think. Let's keep a haul. Alright, Teferi dead, Juice dead. Hall of the Storm Giants in play. Yeah, Veil Summer is a villain card. Teferi Time Raveler is a villain card. Ridden 6 is a villain card. Alright, so Dress Down end of turn would play really well around this Subtlety, although Dovin's Veto is going to stop them from resolving any Planeswalker. I did draw one of these Snapcaster Mages, though. Yeah, Steeman's just for Prismatic. He's a fine Dovin's Veto target. Especially because there's a really good chance I'm just going to flash in my creatures end of turn, even if I don't have a target for Subtlety. Should be a little worried about Solitude, though.
What's up? It's me, your friend, Aspiring.
My opponent might have some verdicts in the deck still, but like the Hall of the Storm Giants is really good at them having against them having a verdict in hand. What's the cuts for Lightning Bolts in Jund Saga? The Heats. The Heats, right? Just play Bolt over Heat. Heat, 3 Bolt, 3 Push is what I liked. Is there a reason to play 3 Steam Vents instead of 1 other shock? I'm convinced that nobody looks at the deck list in this chat before asking questions. Just teasing you. Shouldn't we play slow here? Why? What beats me here if I go for this? Like Solitude like buys them a turn, but if they have Verdict, like, you know. Like even if they have Solitude, Counterspell for Counterspell into Verdict, they're dead. It's just like and they have 3 cards in their hand. There's just like nothing they can really have. Could they have made Solitude a 4/4 without being busted? Solitude would have been too good as a 4/4, or maybe a 4/4 without flying. But 4 being a 4/4 flash flying is just pretty good. I think on the draw, I don't think I want Wall of Omens on the draw at all. It does block Solitude, I guess. Nah, just do it like this. 5 mana 5/5 pro white ETB, you lose 5 life. That card's pretty good. So yeah, Solitude is the hero card that saved Modern. I don't know, it's I think Solitude's good for the format. At the very least, like, if Solitude didn't exist, like, you have to have a ban from Hammertide. Murktide would maybe have to be banned too. Keeps a lot of things in check. How much time does my opponent have on their clock? Like 9 minutes or something like that? It's probably enough time, but they could potentially time out. I really don't like free and flash, I know. Okay, listen, I'm sorry. Please, today, every day this week, I don't know, you know, I'm losing it, but every day this week for some week, people have been complaining about the Evoke incarnations. For some reason, it's this week that this is like the new fun thing to complain about, is the Evoke incarnations. This chat box is not your forum to complain about Modern. You know, I just there are plenty of places to do that. It's not here. But I don't like. Did somebody tweet something? What's happening? Why is this week the week that everybody decides that they're just going to come in here and complain about the incarnations? Who tweeted something? What's going on? What was it? The Evoke incarnation of the game playing comes for 1 week from spoilers. Dude, I'm so excited for spoilers. We could just talk about anything else. Yeah, I blame Doomwake. Probably keep a charm here. Maybe Graveyard gets fine with the Snapcaster in hand. I don't know. Just like so good to have the charms early. I do have a lot of 3 drops. What's being spoiled? The new set, the Brothers War. I'm so excited for spoilers. I'm so excited for new cards. No idea. Dude, just Snapcaster Mage, end of turn. They're disputing it. Let's go. And they're on a mulligan and they're disputing it. Feels great. Huge with the $5. Is you're gonna contemplate rock this weekend, expecting a lot of Hammer Shadow Living In. Is it too lost in the sauce to main board Hidetsugu consumes all, overcrooks as a meta call? No, doesn't seem too lost in the sauce. I'm not sure that means it's correct, but it seems okay. I was like, are we getting Cryptic commanded? Okay, Wandering Emperor. Make a token. Interesting. Piano, 20 months, thank you. Come back. So token in response to uptick. I mean, I'll probably let the uptick resolve, but I guess that doesn't matter. We'll see. I think there's a good chance that this turn I'm just going to do something like Snapcaster Mage, or consider Snapcaster Mage, consider end of turn, trade Snapcaster Mage for a Samurai, then end of turn steal the token that gets the +1 and hold up a 2-mana counterspell. I think that's likely going to be the line. Teferi's not too bad. We can keep it Teferi. Did I consider playing Click in the 75? No, Click's not playable. Consider over Opt is a really interesting conversation. I started off with Considers yesterday in my playtesting, and I was definitely thinking after after the first match, I was like, oh, Opt is probably be better than Consider because of not wanting to mill over fetchable targets. But then, why is this ice so good right here? What the hell? Dang it, so good there. That was kind of like what that was my experience at first yesterday. But then after doing some more playtesting, like it with the Considers, because I was still in the league and I was just kind of to see it some more. It happened like multiple times that I was able to consider another spell into the graveyard, so that when I ephemerated my Snapcaster, I had like a relevant spell to flash back after the Ephemerate rebound. And so I thought that was important, and that's why we're here now today. Okay, so Don't think I'm supposed to charm. Maybe casting the charm into turn is good just for mana efficiency's sake, and I could go like Teferi, bounce the token if it gets countered. I think here I'm just fine holding up mana though, passing. Yeah, consider lets you bin stuff for Snapcaster, mills fetchables. That's the difference. And I think milling stuff for Snapcaster, you know, like maybe like in like the regular blue lit list that aren't playing Ephemerate, I think it makes more sense to play Opt. But this list is like trying to Ephemerate Snapcaster for value, and so like maximizing it a little bit. I think it is correct. At least it makes sense to me. It's obviously nuance, right? Always something. Brutal. Okay, so max punished for not playing that Archmage's Charm last turn. I have another one. I think I maybe supposed to just jam Teferi though this turn. With 2 counterspells up. Resolves. So I guess now I need to think, am I going to steal a token here? Or am I going to Solitude? And so I can keep, yeah, I probably just bounce this token, Solitude this one, and then hold up counter magic and pass. Although if they fire up the Hall of the Storm Giants, they need a land. If they fire up the Hall, things get tricky. They have 2 halls too. Okay, they don't do it this turn. But maybe I need to steal the token anyways. Because I'm like really cold to Hall if I don't. I'm so cold to Hall. Yeah, I'm just so cold to the Hall. Just need to impact the board. You can Solitude pay for Hall, just keep Teferi alive. Well, I mean, the consideration here is Solitude and token instead of stealing. And so, I don't know. Like, I mean, holding up counter magic for, like, a Teferi of their own feels like it would have been really nice here, but I agree that this is the line. Derp, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate you. Jays. Okay, I mean, Narset can check the Jace pretty well. They can cash in the Emperor. They do not cash in the Emperor. They have something else. It's not Teferi. They would have Teferi bounce the token, not Jace. Rest in peace. Kihira, of course. Okay, I don't have any, I set it out my ending, so just do this tapped. Okay, so the Jace can't brainstorm. Make a token. So now if they animate the Hall, I guess I'll just exile the token, chump block the Hall. Could also evoke exile the Hall, but they just have 2. Okay, Kihira's fine. So we'll Solitude the Kihira end of turn. Tap plus Narset. Charm, steal the token. Apparently a really important part of this matchup. And just a short 5 turns later, the Wandering Emperor dies. This is game 1. It's game 3. Two minutes against 14. Welcome to twitch.tv/aspiringspike. You're going to see a lot of this. Aren't we dead on board? We're not dead on board, no.
We're at 9 life. We can block the Hall of Storm Giants. There are many reasons we're not dead on board. Ooh, the nuts. I can kill the Jace next turn. I'll just poke it for 3 this time. Malibu, thank you for the 5 months. Appreciate you. I think this will be better than traditional blue-white control in a more aggro meta. I mean, Solitude Ephemerate's really good against aggro, so maybe. So is Supreme Verdict, which we don't have, because Solitude Ephemerate is our Supreme Verdict. Yeah, you can't steal Hall with Charm. It's non-land. Ooh. Alright, so get the Jace out of here. Bounce the Snapcaster with Teferi. Power still? Yeah, the first... it's been like 2 hours. Or like 1 hour for the last 2 matches. Probably a little bit more than that. But we'll be 2-0. Super hot. I think it was 3 months. Appreciate you. So we'll Venser the Hall before it has a ward. Then we'll play Mulldrifter end of turn, which is Snapcaster Archmage's Charm. And we'll draw Mulldrifter. Opponent is still here. Still here, still playing, still battling, hanging out. I'm not gonna waste my time playing Mulldrifter as much as I want to. I guess this line is very soft to Supreme Verdict. So I can't bounce the Verdict anymore. Okay, 2-0. But you know, for a long time, it was just like way easier for me to play control. But like a lot of your decisions are like just like, especially in the early game with control, are just like very straightforward. Like this hand right here has no decisions. It's not gonna have any decisions for like the first 3 turns probably, or any like real difficult ones. Suir, thank you for Twitch Prime. Appreciate you. But yeah, being able to react to your opponent means that like your decisions just get to be so informed that the decisions tend to be like easier. I think that's a good way to put it, instead of the mean way that I put it. We can Council of the Sorcery. I haven't read this card. I usually don't like to Solitude a dashed Ragavan. May make an exception here. Mana matters a lot this early into the matchup. And then if my opponent's going to be dashing on turn 2, they're obviously showing a commitment to only dashing this game. Lindsay with 3 months, appreciate you. Do you think this Coco Sword deck has legs long term? I built Esper Food after Teferi. I'm afraid of spending 1k to fully Japanese Coco if it's a flash in the pan. I like the deck a lot. My win rate with it's really high. I think it has game against everything. I can't see the future, and I can't see how metagames will change. But I like the deck a lot, and I'm playing it in a tournament this weekend. I'm excited. waiting like Solitude on Dash Ragavan usually, especially on turn 2. It's less like, you know, I mean, Solituding a Ragavan on the first 2 turns is usually advantageous for the Ragavan player. Like, these matchups are very much about card advantage. And I think that people in general, like, overvalue how impactful a Dash Ragavan is on turn 2. Like, it's just, like, really not that powerful to just start dashing Ragavan on turn 2 in most situations. And it's not something you have to be that worried about. It's not something I'm that worried about. And, like, using 2-for-1ing yourself to stop it is, I think, not a big priority. Okay, Counterspell. Go up to 5 cards. No decisions so far this game. Is Evoker Cascaded more busted in Modern? I don't care. I don't usually like to judge mechanics, right? Because, like, it's not that Evoke or Cascade are busted. It's that we have 5 incarnations that are really efficient, and Mulldrifter, and then we have like 2 good Cascade spells in the whole format. So I don't know that I would describe either mechanic as busted, but I guess Evoke has like 6 playable Evoke cards, maybe more with like Foundation Breaker, and Cascade has like 2 playable cards, maybe 3. Those players in shambles. I mean, that's a suspend spell, not a Cascade spell. And stronger Evoker Storm. Mutate is the strongest mechanic. There's a Murktide. They've already used 2 counterspells. They have 5 cards in their hand. They're not like super unlikely to have another one. I think I'm just gonna jam another Mulldrifter though. Kind of surprised they didn't just snap counter it. Whatever. Not sure if I'm supposed to take 8 or not. It's just always hard to chump block with your Mulldrifter when you have Ephemerate in your deck. There's a good chance they just kill it, I guess. Oh, and if they're gonna Murktide first, then we'll definitely chump block. Art, thank you for the 3 months. Appreciate you. Have I just started dropping an 01 when streaming a new brew? No, I mean, I always drop an 01 if I want to make a change to the deck, though, and I wanted to make a change. You just get better testing if you you know, instead of like playing four matches of a blue-white control deck when it's not like the exact 75 you want to play, that's like 2 to 3 hours of your life wasted with not testing the 75 you want. Is Ephemerate my favorite card to brew around in Modern? I don't know. I like lately I've been playing a lot with it, I know. But like this is just kind of happens a lot where I'll be like particularly interested in one thing, and I'll play like a lot of Ephemerate decks or a lot of, you know, with one card until I feel like I figure it out. Okay, they've already played 3 counterspells. Surely they don't have the 4th one. Although I don't know what we could really even draw here. It'd have to be like Mulldrifter into Ephemerate into Solitude or something nuts like that. I have no outs. Let's go to game 2. Bring in the fun Ravelers and the disputes. I think March is better than Ending for the most part, especially on the play. I probably want to do something like 3-3, maybe 3-2 on the play. Well, I do think I want to keep it in the walls against the Ragavan deck. What are we cutting? Yeah, sideboarding with this deck's been really tricky so far. No, Solitude Ephemerate is our supreme verdict. I don't think you need to play the verdict in this deck. Maybe you cut Counterspell? Or maybe you cut 4th Mulldrifter. 4th Mulldrifter, 2nd Ending to Counterspell, and then on the play, I'm going to want more endings to answer Ragavan. Cut Ephemerate? You could trim an Ephemerate. There's our 1 ending. Venser's not good against Murktide. I mean, it's good against... It's okay against the card Murktide, but you have other answers to it that are better. I think I just play the Hall here. Trim a Snapcaster in case they have something like Hearse that they... I mean, I don't think that they're very likely to bring in Hearse against me. If they do, I have answers to Hearse. But you could trim a Snapcaster. Happy to just play land go for a little while. So I thought this was gonna be Archmage's Charm end of turn. I think I can let this resolve. And then take 3, and I guess I'll fetch Shock, Steam Vents, and then march the Borrower end of turn if they don't do anything else. And if they counter this, I can Prismatic Ending after the untap. Yeah, this deck's been fun to pilot. I like this deck. Okay, don't mind trading that for Counterspell. So blue, white, red, ending. I think we just trade Counterspells here. Hopefully they don't have too much more pressure. If they do have a Murktide, we have the Otawara, I guess. Expressive Iteration. I think Ron's done a good job navigating around my my hand. Dash Ragavan. Okay, not too scared of this. Seems like they really like to dash Ragavan in this matchup, and not just like sit and hold up counter magic. Although they might not have another counter spell. Although I said that last game, and I think they had all. No, they had 3 or 4. They had a lot of them. Okay, let's consider main phase. Maybe find a Wall of Omens to block the Ragavan. Yeah, Mulldrifter off the top would have been nice. I could have gone Mulldrifter Ephemerate with Counterspell up. Graveyard land, draw land. I think I'm just gonna let this connect for this turn. Like if I could draw Mulldrifter, I could draw Wall of Omens that like negate this Ragavan pretty well, and I'm kind of low on resources, so I think that trying to like negate it's kind of good. And this might actually look like a nightmare situation, but because I have Otawara, it's not. Because now I can just bounce the Teferi back to my hand. I'm gonna do this now before they have the option to minus the Teferi. Weird. Force Subtlety for Tron Titan. Maybe there's another deck, I'm not sure. Then they heat the Teferi. Weird. Come on, Mulldrifter. Oh, I have a Murktide. Mulldrifter, Solitude, both good now. Okay, Wall's not terrible, but I think I might just die. I think let's ephemerate the Wall of Omens so I can hold this to pitch to Solitude if I find it. Which I don't find it. Play this out. Pass. Then we have a few more looks at an answer to Murktide, but now my opponent has all of their mana available to them, and I'm going to be dead to a bolt. And his Ragavan 2 mystery cards at the moment. I'm trying to think if I need to hold up the counterspell ever here. Blood Moon. I mean, Blood Moon's not super bad for me. I can't hardcast the Solitude. I think I'll just use my counterspell here. If they counter back, it's not the end of the world. If they lightning bolt me, we die. It's fine. There's Ragavan mystery card. Play the Ragavan. I guess I'll draw before I consider and stuff. We need to find Mulldrifter, Solitude, or Teferi. Brick. Okay, 1 mana short of marching them the Murktide. Dividend basic. I have 4 islands in the deck. Keep this one up against Giganta the Wellspring. Giganta is like usually food or Grixis Shadow these days. Most Tron players are not playing Giganta. I would not mind boarding in my subtleties. It's hard because Verdict dumps his Murktide. One of the main reasons St. Blue has a great matchup against it. I think obviously losing Verdict makes this matchup harder. That's true. Okay, Tron. Tron with Giganta. Tron game 1's probably going to be tricky. I mean, the presence of like all these counterspells definitely makes the Tron matchup way better than it used to be. And then we have all these subtleties in the Venser on the side. Okay, I will say this. My Tron opponents have just not been keeping turn 3 Tron hands. I don't know if this is like the new meta or what is really going on, but this has been happening a lot, that they've just been keeping hands like this on 7 cards, and I don't think that it's really correct. I'll keep a land here. So I'm maybe hoping to counter like an Expedition map this turn and be able to go Mulldrifter, Ephemerate, and then keep them off of Tron for a turn. That's maybe a bit optimistic though. Probably better to counter like a green spell instead of the Chromatic Star, or try to. Yeah, maybe like just like a lot of new players are picking up the deck too. That could absolutely be the case. And also, like, I don't know. It could be the case that there is some range of keepable hands that doesn't have turn 3 Tron on the play. It's also possible my opponent just, like, you know, saw the stream title earlier, knows I'm playing a blue-white control deck. They could just keep a hand that has that's a little bit slower. I mean, I love doing that. Okay, 3rd Sylvan Scrying, Tron assembled. Alright, more Ephemerates. I'm going to go to discard. I'm going to discard Prismatic Ending, Mulldrifter. Maybe 2 Mulldrifters. Yeah, I think at this point we're just going to be able to like keep ephemerating this. We don't need to just have more in the hand. Alright, so we have a wall of counter magic. My opponent has Tron. They have 10 mana. If they have Ulamog, it's bad for us. No Ulamog so far. I might want to go... Yeah, I think I just want to Snapcaster Archmage's Charm this turn, get the extra body into play, and use my mana a bit more efficiently. With them only having 3 mana left this turn, there's not really much they can punish me with. I can even get Steam Vents and Prismatic Ending, Oblivion Stone if they play O-Stone after this Karn. How was the Grella? I didn't like the Grella that much. I think that I'm going to be likely to cut the card going forward. Warping Whale to Snapcaster. This has been happening a lot too. Like I guess they can't Warping Whale the Mulldrifter. That's never mind. That's fine. Okay, so just play Hall of the Storm Giants, attack with the Mulldrifter. Pass. What mana draw 4? Plays Urza's Power Plants and Oblivion Stone. I don't want to counter the Oblivion Stone. Yeah, I was hoping I'd draw another Counterspell, but I didn't. I think we just let this go, and then if my opponent pops the O-Stone in my upkeep, I might Otawara my own Mulldrifter. I'll probably just let it happen though. Probably just let it go. Could Otawara the O-Stone end of turn to just force the action? It's probably unnecessary because the action likely just gets forced here, right? Okay. Well, I'm okay with this as well, just letting me draw the cards. Probably not super likely that I'm going to need to hold up both pieces of counter magic here. But I also think I'm like somewhat free to just discard like one wall, one prismatic ending. I can't imagine like needing both of these. And I can like maybe just ignore the O-Stone for a little while, maybe force the action if I need to. I want to get to a point where I can animate the Hall of the Storm Giants and attack all in one go. But if my opponent's just like not going to crack the O-Stone, I don't think I need to make them crack it. If they're going to maybe take like... if they take 2 hits from this Mulldrifter, then they're dead to 2 hits of the Hall of the Storm Giants, which is pretty relevant. I think I'll play 1 Wall of Omens here. Winning game 1 would be huge. We have 4 Subtlety and a Venser in the sideboard. The Dovin's Veto. But I think matchup gets like pretty good post board. So I can draw 2 with the Ephemerate. I think I'm just gonna not... Actually, let me just bounce this. Hopefully I don't need to have both counterspells up here, but I think it's fine to Otawara my own Mulldrifter here. Maybe close. Okay, I'd love to see them leading on the Chromatic Sphere. Not just immediately slamming like Karn the Great Creator, Karn Liberated, so they can double spell and resolve one of their threats. Well, there's Karn the Great Creator. I can maybe let this resolve though. I'm not sure what they really get that I'm so scared of. I have Hall of the Storm Giants that can kill it. I've got Prismatic Ending to answer like Liquid Metal Coating. I think this is fine. Have I stopped playing Pioneer? I mean, I played Pioneer RCQ over the weekend. I ended up getting second place at it even. Bouncing Order was so greedy. I don't know. I think it was correct too. We still have a counterspell up and we have the Ephemerate in the hand. I think it was fine, but it wouldn't be a control stream if every single line wasn't hella nitpicked. Okay, so let's, I think... So Prismatic Ending, the O-Stone lets me keep up Counterspell, Archmage's Charm, or Solitude. Yeah, I know my opponent can get the O-Stone back with Karn, but they're going to get something with Karn this turn, you know? I understand. But I don't even know that they're going to get the O-Stone here either. I just need to 1-for-1 them, I think, with the ending. I'm not even sure that I don't even think I counter O-Stone if they do get it. This doesn't matter that much. They get Coding, which also is not that relevant, I think. So if they go Coding, Sundering Titan... Yeah, I can't let this Sundering Titan resolve. This is fine. They can kill a creature if they want to, but if they don't go for the Sundering Titan, then I can flash into Solitude too. Use the Archmage's Charm instead of the Counterspell because like these are just countering creatures. This game, it's not really gonna be doing anything else. I can go for the Mulldrifter can pressure the Karn too. The Mulldrifter probably just does that this game, or maybe now we ending the coding, but. Let's do this first. Kind of light on cards in the deck, actually. I guess it's also somewhat free to play this Wall of Omens first before I Prismatic Ending. Oh, maybe not free. Maybe I'm gonna deck myself. I don't know. I've got the 2 Hall of the Storm Giants. Got the Counterspell up. Think Sublime Epiphany could fit in the creativity deck, or is it win more? I think it's a little win more. It's obvious. I think it's maybe even like textbook definition of win more. But very cool when it goes off. This doesn't matter. Guess we just draw one, so you can kill the Karn. Yeah, we're not super far off from activating both halls at the same time. That might be a achievement to unlock. I guess I main phase Solitude to avoid going to discard. I still have one Fountain, one Island in the deck, so that Strand is still live. Yellow hat. Yellow hat. Da, 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 da. Welcome Gab, welcome all the pigeons from Yellow Hat stream. I'm trying out this blue-white control brew with Snapcaster and Ephemerate and Mulldrifter. It's been pretty fun so far. Drawing a lot of cards in a really crazy game one against Tron at the moment. Okay, another Worm Coil, another card that does not matter at all, has no text. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but... I think I can haul and hold up 2 counterspells. Almost no chance I need 3 counterspells. Oh, sorry, I miscounted my mana. I could have played the Hallowed Fountain tapped, but it doesn't really matter either, I guess. This is 15 damage, put my opponent down to 13. Oh, they have something. The Warping Well Chump Block. Okay. Buying time. Oh, no blocks. Weird. Probably misclick. Can't imagine that this is a Eldrazi Scion to ramp here. Hope I don't eat those words saying I don't know how I could ever need 3 counterspells this turn. Maybe we could actually level up that Karn Resolve too, just like let them use more mana. But I mean, they only have 7 mana left, so it's not really like they can have like 2 more things that they care about, right? So they go up to 14, I hit them for 15, we win a very crazy game 1. Yeah, Control versus Tron, I think people still have this attitude that Control is unfavored against Tron, but I just really haven't minded the Control matchups very much. Or the Tron matchups with these Control decks, like post-MH2. Just have so much game against them. So there's 14 creatures. I think trimming the Wall of Omens 1 Ephemerate makes sense. I think Narset's pretty good against them, by the way. Tron used to play more uncountable threats. I mean, back like when Ivugan was legal, sure. It's been a long time since that's been the dynamic. I mean, it's also true they didn't draw any of their Ulamogs that game. I don't know if we could probably beat an Ulamog, though. Yeah, it's just like the dynamic of Mana Leak and Remand being pretty dead against them. Is Ashiok not good in decks like this? I mean, you could play an Ashiok. I think that Ashiok is an okay sideboard card right now, with Titan being generally popular, but I think in a deck like this that's playing Ephemerate, it makes a lot of sense for Subtlety to be your big mana hate card of choice. But it's only mulligan to 6. Why keep ending in the deck? I'm about to show you. I'm about to show you why you keep ending in the deck. There's a thing for ending right there. Ending a Star Sphere map on turn 1 is pretty good. Ending does get kind of bad after turn 1 a lot of the time, but this interaction is just like very nice. Do you think the game would have changed if they had Tron on turn 3? I mean, it would have changed in the way we probably would have lost, for sure. Because we didn't have the window. We wouldn't have had the window to Mulldrifter Ephemerate. Interesting. I really just want to hardcast the Subtlety before I Ephemerate. We'll see if they just have Natty Tron. Hoping that's not the case. Is this the last league? I don't think so, but man, I might play a different deck after this just because it's a blue-white control deck. The leagues take forever. Do you have a general rule for determining number of lands I'm brewing? Not really. I at this point I don't like to follow too many hard rules because I just brew every single day, so it's not like I need to like look at a sticky note on the wall and like know how many lands a deck needs. Every deck is different. Okay, so they have 4 mana left over after this. If they have a second Karn, we get kind of toast. Although they might have Veil of Summer since they're playing out Chromatic Sphere before and not cracking it. Yeah. Not much to do. I mean, we could have obviously Subtlety Ephemerated, but I think you're probably just supposed to jam the charm here. Then you probably just get coding and win the game. Get a brew list to make Obliterator playable. I don't make any cards playable. I've never logged into the stream and made an unplayable card playable. I simply try to find things that are underutilized and underexplored in the format. Okay, let's play game 3 on the play. Stupid Veil of Summer. Yeah, Frank Carson has sticky notes and good guides on number of lands, number of sources you need for cards and decks. How's the brew feeling compared to traditional blue-white? It's not that different, really. I'm not sure if it's better. You're more resilient to, you're more vulnerable to removal, and Snapcaster is a much more powerful spell in this deck, which is exciting. And you have like those nut draw, Solitude Ephemerate lines, Mulldrifter Ephemerate lines. But it does feel like the matchup spread doesn't really feel that different so far. Well, I guess worse against Murktide for sure. But Archmage Ravager, it's underutilized, underrepresented. I mean, Hardened Scales is like quietly a really good deck in Modern that is underplayed. We've played Hardened Scales on stream, and I think that Hardened Scales is maybe the hardest deck in Modern, or if not the hardest, one of the hardest. And I encourage you to pick it up if you like the archetype. I've definitely written a guide on Channel Fireball for it. I don't know if I did a video. GG's rip. Okay, so they missed their second land drop. Immediately finds another Tron piece, though. Don't mind if I do. So, I don't know if they just skipped through their second turn, but their deck has definitely been pretty kind to them since they missed their second land drop. What the heck? Barf. Not that my draw's been super bad. I really want to draw Venser or Subtlety, or Mulldrifter. Snapcaster was good up until the Relic. Did they really just rip both Tron pieces? I think they did. It's so gross. Okay, so what land are we tutoring? Probably just to fetch land so I can Prismatic Ending on 3. I don't think I need Otawara. Could maybe have gotten a second hall, though. Tron, good deck. We're drawing counterspells. We're still in it for sure. Opponent, they missed their second land, so they are almost certainly just have a pile of gas here. I don't think I'm ever supposed to counter the Expedition map here. It does unlock green cards from their hand. Unlocks Ulamog. If they get a tower, we'll know they have Ulamog, but they get Forest. Feels like very classic modern game here. This is fine. I have endings in the deck. All they can really needle is Hall of the Storm Giants. Maybe they needle Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and yeah, just name the Hall. And I think I have to let this go too. If they find Ulamog and they have another land, it's bad. But I don't think they have enough. They don't have another land in their hand currently. They might already have Ulamog anyways. Maybe they find the land. But this veto is just such a big priority, and they just get Warping Whale. So now I'm really happy to have let that resolve. So we're joking draw Subtlety, Mulldrifter, Counterspell, Snapcaster Mage. This is fine. Not anyway, better than the land maybe. Some pressure at least. An answer to Worm Coil. I would love for them to just play Worm Coil this turn. They may have boarded him out. Like a lot of times, Tron boards out Worm Coil against blue-white decks. I think I have to let this go. I just let everything go. Solitude can also answer Ulamog. I think there's a decent chance that they have Ulamog in their hand. They got Sanctum of Ugin here. They're still 1 mana shy of hardcasting Ulamog. Here's the mana. You get a Beseiju. They'll have 10 mana for next turn. So if they do have the Ulamog, we'll have at least some of this, some of the card advantage from the Ulamog recouped here. In theory. I don't think I just play this tapped, right? Yeah. Urza's Tower. They have 3 cards in their hand, 2 of them are spells. One of them is Beseiju. How does my opponent have nothing? They have their hand is Warping Whale, Beseiju. It must be another Warping Whale. Or Veil of Summer. Unreal. Unreal how lucky it is they don't have a Ulamog there. Actually unreal. So plays Urza's Power Plant. Probably their draw for the turn. How do they have Ulamog now? So if I subtlety the Ulamog, then they just put it on top and don't sacrifice the Sanctum. So I think I'll just Solitude it. I think we're gonna win. Oh no, they have an Emrakul, the Promised End. Emrakul, the Promised End. Can you not counter? Why do I need to counter it? I'm just going to Solitude it. What do I need to counter it for? Think I care about this 10 life? This is like way more mana efficient. Okay, awesome. So I think there's their hand is currently Beseiju, Emrakul, the Promised End. So I guess I'll just cast a Subtlety and then counterspell the Emrakul. It's so bad though if they just drop Veil of Summer and I get to play around if I keep the Veto up. Oh, and I want to use this ending too before they just like get it out of the hand. Yeah. This Emrakul would be nuts. I think we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Because they can't evoke the subtleties when they take the extra turn. It's funny for this, for the only on your opponent's turn thing to be a buff. Why no attack? Oh, I should have attacked. I was just focused on everything else. We'll get there. We'll get their life points taken care of. Don't worry, guys. I should have played my fetch land though, because now they get to just use the fetch land. Yeah, I don't know why people are confused by no attack here. It's just obviously a mistake. It's not that deep. It's just not that deep. They can evoke Mulldrifter? No way, dude. All right, let's go. Why not cast Subtlety on their turn? I was mana short, right? I was 1 mana short, I thought. Because I cast the second ending. I cast 2 endings, Counterspell. If I had 4 mana, I should have cast it, you know. Getting stun locked. Get the quad subtleties in the hand, though. Double evoke subtlety. They can't evoke subtlety. You can only evoke subtlety on your opponent's turn. Yes, they can. Oh no, what am I doing? What am I saying? You obviously can. What am I saying? Of course you can. No. Why was I thinking it was like force of negation? No, streamer brain rot. I know. What am I thinking? Obviously. I just don't play with subtlety almost ever, I guess. Okay. We're in worse shape than I thought we were. We're in way worse shape than I thought we were. I said it so many times too. It's like the first time I've ever played Force Subtlety in a deck too. I think I'm gonna. It's so close. So okay, this is a weird spot because I can. How many counter spells do I even have left? I have a lot. I have a lot of counter magic left in the deck. I have. Oh, I guess I just have the Snapcasters actually. Oh no, I don't have a lot. I have 1 Archmage's Charm, 4 Snapcasters, so I have 5 pieces of counter magic. I think I'll fire up with the hull then. Ephemerate Troll is a no-brainer. It's not a. I mean, it's the difference between attacking with the Mulldrifter and not. Maybe main phasing this is fine. Yes, I guess you're right because they have the Besage, huh? Damn it. Crashing and burning, huh? Okay, but now I can ephemerate the Mulldrifter into Dovin's Veto still, so I'll hold this up. Making it so much harder to win with the control deck. I know I've made a lot of mistakes, chat, but it is what it is. It's I get very, flustered and nervous when making so many mistakes on stream still. It messes with my anxiety to like make a dumb mistake, and then it freaks me out and cascades into more and more, and just a little bit of patience would be nice, It's just very easy to get stun locked and have it cascade. They choose Oblivion Stone. Stone is weird here. If I bounce it, they can replay it, pop it immediately. Fran, thank you for 27 months. Appreciate ya. Just a bit if you're playing Hallowed Fountain, it enters untapped and hits for a lot more damage. But if they just want to pop the O-Stone to kill the card, reset the board, I think that's fine. They'd probably do it end of turn. And then it might be good to Venser my own Mulldrifter. Warping Whale. So I think the line is evoke Solitude on the Scion. Evoke Solitude on the Scion. And my opponent has the option to pop the O-Stone now to take 2 less damage, which is pretty reasonable. And if they do that, then we Venser replay Mulldrifter. If they don't, we just keep the Venser up and move on. I don't think this Prismatic Ending is really going to be worth almost anything this game, so I don't mind just kind of like throwing it away like this. We also have no fetchables left in the deck, so I think that holding the fetch lands as blessed is fine too. $15 cards left in the library. Don't mind drawing this Dovin's Veto. Was Prismatic in there and so not a consideration? So I didn't consider the fourth Warping Whale very seriously, which maybe I should have. But I was thinking that I was just going to force the O-Stone activation with the attack. I didn't really think that this Warping Whale was something I needed to be too concerned about. And obviously that was not the case, but I didn't consider it now. But maybe I should have, huh? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how my opponent just hasn't popped this O-Stone yet. Now they have. I'm not sure if I'm even wanting to. Yeah, I don't think I want to at this point Venser the Mulldrifter. I can do something like Snapcaster Archmage's Charm, draw 2, then Venser my own Snapcaster back. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, we have 3 Snapcasters in the deck. I think it's the first one we've drawn in 36 cards. Weird. Weird for them to have 2 O-Stones. I don't know, not the end of the world, right? Snap Ephemerate wasn't better. You don't get to rebound when you Snapcaster Ephemerate. Do I just counter this? I think because I still have 3 Snapcasters in the deck, I just counter this. Okay, we bricked. We need them to brick. Okay, Blast Zone obviously has a little bit of utility here. There's the second Hall of the Storm Giants. Eventually, the shuffle Snapcaster top of your library seems good. Why do we think that Snapcasters are towards the bottom? We have, right? I don't think we have any information to imply that. Okay, so we beat Ugin, O-Stone. They're passing. They can have another Beseiju. I mean, we just jammed this. We can counter a Warping Whale. What a game. I mean, obviously, made a lot of mistakes in the middle of that game there. Emrakul turn was really weird. Unclear. I wanted to play a updated... We played the John the Greasefang deck yesterday, and these leagues are much faster. Or the 4-color Greasefang deck, and I wanted to run a league with the Tidehull Scullers. I thought that the Scullers were interesting suggestion. Just this, the synergy with Goblin Engineer is really interesting, especially the ability to sack Sculler with the trigger on the stack to Engineer, or to Sculler your opponent on their draw step, and then also Sculler protecting Greasefang, or taking their answer for Greasefang is also pretty interesting. Okay, so looks like we're up against Creativity. Have the combo, Mulldrifter, Ephemerate. And if we don't have time for this today, we might have time for it tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow yet. I was wanting to play Pioneer for at least one league today after getting second at the RCQ over the weekend, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, let's just hold up mana here. I think I want to keep the second wall as a white card to pitch to Solitude. Realistically. Yeah, I played blue-red Gearhulk Creativity at the RCQ. Are they just jamming? Looks like they're just jamming. Alright, well, we'll go Solitude. I guess we just Solitude the token and we don't Ephemerate, and so I can go Mulldrifter Ephemerate next turn. This deck you showed Absent Green saying it's 4-color. We played it yesterday. Just the idea is that Greasefang and Goblin Engineer are a 2-card combo that both play well in a Collected Company Unearthed Shell. Ooh. Kind of shields down if they have a second creativity, obviously, but we have, we get to draw like 6 cards here, so it's hard to not go for this, I think. I can't believe they just jammed with the 3 open mana against the blue-white deck. I mean, they probably just have another one. Maybe we could just discard Fountain instead. I don't have another Solitude, admittedly. But I can do something like I can maybe play through this a little bit. I can go this turn, play Island, discard Flooded Strand to hand size. My opponent will attack with the Archon. I'll flash in Snapcaster Mage, target Ephemerate, sack the Snapcaster Mage to Ephemerate, or to the Archon trigger, block with Mulldrifter, Ephemerate the Mulldrifter with Counterspell up. Yeah, people keep saying I'm quiet. I haven't changed any settings. I think I'm just talking quieter than I usually do. A lot of people have been saying it. I think discarding Mulldrifter actually is a bit more relevant. Yeah, but people keep saying I'm quiet. I don't know what I'm doing different. I don't really think it's anything. I'm just talking quieter, I think. Okay, I don't love it, but I'm going to pay. Okay, so now regretting discarding the Mulldrifter. Maybe I should have seen this coming. Let's try to find another Solitude. Found another Solitude. Have to pitch my Ephemerate though, which is fine, I guess. Yeah, I just don't know what I can change because I literally have the mic turned all the way up and I have the mic audio turned all the way up. So I don't know, chat. Okay, feeling okay. Can snap Charm into turn with Counterspell up. If you had shocked the land, you could have snapped Ephemerate your Solitude. I don't have an Ephemerate in the yard. This is a Wall of Omens. And I also don't know how like incentivized we are to like save our own Solitude in the spot either. Three Archons to be gone? No, only 2 Archons are gone, right? 1 exile, 1 in the yard. Two cards in their hand. Need some action. That's some action. In the yard I have Counterspell as the only Snapcasterable spell. Probably actually makes sense to just trade a Snapcaster for a Dwarf right now and then march the other one, and I can just, Ephemerate this one if I draw an Ephemerate. Okay, this is fine. They're thinking about doing something in response to this. I don't know what they could really be. Still have 1 fetchable Steam Vents for sure. Let's counterspell this. 1 card in their hand. If they had Archonic, they could have hardcast it. I think we're just ending this. Token. Okay, I mean that blinks the Snapcaster pretty well, but I don't think I'm supposed to be able to use the. I can't use the Counterspell that aggressively. Counterspell's just way too premium. Pass back. Really kicking myself for discarding that Mulldrifter earlier. I just really thought that with I really thought with the Counterspell up we'd be able to save the Mulldrifter. I think it is fine to go down to 6. I think I'm not going to use the Otawara. They're at 25 life. This game is going to go long. And if they draw a creativity, which they're like somewhat likely to find one at some point, the Otawara is going to be, with them having all 4 Dwarven Mines, they're just going to, a creativity X equals 1, and then Otawara can like serve as like a cryptic command. Shouldn't be a big difference between 5 and 6 either. We'll just get that last fetchable out of the deck. Ephemerate not a bad draw. Basically a counterspell. Do I still like Esper? I could also Otawara the Snapcaster at some point. Do I like Esper Emitter over Grixis Creativity? I mean, yeah. I think that deck's nuts. Trying to think who has the inevitability in the long game. I think it's me here. No, here, let's do this. Two cards in their hand. I've got 3. They're all really relevant. Persist Archon. So we'll use the Counterspell on this, and now the Ephemerate and the Otawara can turn into 1 Counterspell. At some point. Ending not a very good draw. Yeah, I agree. Them having no Dwarven Mines is a really big deal. Let's see, yeah, still has 2 Archons in the deck though. Interesting draw. It's probably fine to just flash that end of turn. We'll see. I still have 2 Mulldrifters in the deck. Yeah, I think this is going to be fine. Especially to not get bolted out. Not sure how many bolts the Grixis version plays. I think the Teamer version plays more. They might just both play 4 though. We've got something. Obviously an instance. Prismatic Commander Bolt is really the only options, right? Assuming they have something, maybe I shouldn't. Great draw. So stringing out that Snappy was no-go in current modern. That's just not true. Snapcaster's been popular in like more traditional versions of blue-white for a long time. Blue-white hasn't been as popular lately, but it's also very powerful with Ephemerate, so we're trying it out here. But I don't know why people just think that Snapcaster's not. This comment's been said a lot. Snapcaster in modern these days. Snapcaster's been seeing a lot of play lately. I don't think that this should be really all that surprising. The problem I have with not countering this is that it puts a treasure token into play, which means that a creativity is all of a sudden live. But like the other option was like Otawara the Solitude, but then we have to counterspell the creativity. Yeah, Yarvis, I was thinking about the Scullers a bit more. I think you might be onto it or onto something. I think I just Ephemerate Snapcaster Mage to not turn on another Spell Pierce. They've already used 2. They probably don't have another one. I do also just keep getting got by a Spell Pierce out of the creativity deck though. Oh, it was Ari's idea? Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, like especially with the Goblin Engineers. Protect the Sculler stuff. Can Otawara the token? Yeah, I know, but it's also like, do I just want to let the Solitude die? I lose my like all my pressure. Okay, nothing to Ephemerate in the yards. We'll just let it happen. We can also Otawara or Snapcaster, and then Snap Counterspell. I'm out of fetchable targets, right? Yeah, my last island is in the yard, so guess we're not playing around Spell Pierce stuff. No, we could pay for Spell Pierce. We have exactly enough. Okay, we have Ending for the token. I think there's a really good chance they're going to Creativity this turn, though. So we go Otawara, Snapcaster Mage. Snap Counterspell. Don't have island left. No, my last island is in the graveyard right now, as I just said. Remand? No, sack the clue. Double Spell Pierce gets me. I don't think they play Remand in the Grixis version very much these days. Another Prismari command, though. To loot and kill the Solitude. Discarding Spell Pierce, discarding Snow-Covered Mountain. Don't mind if I do, though. Down to 17 cards in the library. Should be fine. I can still pay for Spell Pierce on a Counterspell. Attack my opponent down to 4. I think I'm even beating an Archon that resolves this turn because I have the Hall. This puts them dead on board. Even with the Fable here, so I don't think I need to counter it. They jump like the Hall, take 4. Can I pay for Spell Pierce? I can. Okay. If their last card is another Fatal Push, we have a game. Okay. Long game one. So I'm gonna bring in the Dovin's Vetoes. Sideboarding against creativity is always pretty tricky. I think I want to cut all the marches and the endings, though. I didn't bring in the Venser last time. I think I will bring in the Venser. And then Dispute is fine. I want maybe one Dispute, maybe not both. I probably want the Teferis. Probably don't want the walls. You could also cut the 4th Solitude. I think you want the 4th Solitude, though. This is 15 creatures for Ephemerate, which I think is fine. Seems fine. I think one of the biggest strengths to creativity definitely seems like just the fact that it's such a tricky deck to sideboard against. Narset, Narset I guess stops the draw from the Archon ETB. It doesn't. It's good against the looting. It's kind of hard to resolve. We already bring in the Teferis. Covey, think of the 6 months. Narset stops their looting. Yeah, but like they're just not going to loot into it, right? Like they still have plenty of good modes for Prismari Command. I don't think I'd fault you for bringing it in. But I would fault you for suggesting to bring it in, not suggesting what to cut. Alright, mulligan. I'm going to keep this. I don't know what to put back. Maybe the Solitude, maybe the Wall. Maybe the Mulldrifter. Put back the Drifter, I think. Oh, the Mirror Breaker loot. Yeah, the Mirror Breaker loot is optional. I forgot about that one. Could be a fast game too. I main phase this because of Spell Pierce. I think that they're like, if they have Spell Pierce, they might Spell Pierce. They consider and the game just ends. But on the draw with Consider, don't find land 2, unfortunately. Biz, 9 months, thank you. They're gonna play a Fable, maybe. Kaito. Easy peasy. Don't hate the Ephemerate here. They're just using Kaito as a looter. Discarding 2 persists, so they almost definitely have another one in the hand if they're going to be discarding the persists with a Kaito in play. Okay, a land for Teferi, bounce the Goblin token would be so good, but it does not come. It does not arrive. Alright, let's try to find a land. I yield. Could have tried to play it out, but just doesn't feel bad game. I'm just gonna go to game 3. Yeah, Magic be like that sometimes. Okay, good hand. Have lands. Have spells. Narset over Dispute. Yeah, I think that's a fine suggestion. I think seeing Kaito, I do really want to play the first Dispute. And again, we already brought in 2 Teferis. I don't want to overload them like the 3 mana sorcery speed plays against creativity. So I play this wall. They can resolve Fable. I think that I just have to resolve it now. I'm just never getting to if I don't. Unfortunately, I can't Ephemerate end of turn either. I think we'll be okay. I can maybe even steal the Fable token, but probably not. I'm mostly, I guess, hoping that they... Oh, sorry, hold on. I shouldn't. We have 6. Need to be able to dispute this. So now I can't dispute Kaito. Although Kaito probably doesn't even matter that much, to be honest. It's not that scary of a card. No, they don't have a 3 mana spell to tap out for. I think we're in really good shape, even if we miss a land drop here. Awesome, they don't. Main phase Indulgence likely means they're missing a land. Maybe they found it off the Indulgence. They do discard an Archon, so Persist is possible, if not likely. So let's counterspell this so they can't spell pierce. They can Flusterstorm though. But we win the counterspell fight at least, and then it's kind of if I draw a land, it's pretty tempting to just go like Venser, Ephemerate Venser, bounce 2 lands. But I don't know that I have the pressure to really capitalize on doing that, you know. Yeah, I think I just actually need to draw the cards off the Ephemerate. It's very tempting to do that though. But if they just have another Persist and they just replay Persist, that line loses too. Okay. We counter. Well, what's nice about Venser on this is that Venser beats another Flusterstorm and the Archmage's Charm doesn't. Doesn't beat the Dispute. Damn it. I guess that neither of my cards beat Dispute though. So I can cycle the Wall of Omens, cycle the Ephemerate, which I guess I need to find a Solitude, so we'll do the Solitude or Teferi Time Raveler, and so just digging 1 card deeper, I guess, is correct. And then discard here. We can draw 2 off Charm, looking for Teferi plus land if we miss on our draw step. There's the land. Guess I'll just play this, draw 2. I don't know if there's anything off Consider we can find. A little wait. I think the line was better try with Charm. If they have another counter, you Venser Archon back to hand. Yeah. The thing is, though, we've seen Flusterstorm and Spell Pierce out of them, so it's just like so hard for me to like not play around one of those two, to play around Dispute instead. You know? Like, not that it's just like a card that's out of the question, but we hadn't seen one yet. It's just, I don't know, I just couldn't find it in me to take the line. That definitely was the line we needed to take, though. It just seems so much more likely that they had, you know, again, one of those other 2 1-mana spells. Okay, I'm gonna call this stream here. I don't know how I feel about the blue-white.